Hey there folks, my name is Peter, and on today's video we are talking truck EDC toolkits in the Maxpedition Beefy. So before we get into everything that I've got packed inside my Maxpedition Beefy, which lives in my F-150 full time, if you're into EDC tools or do-it-yourself projects, be sure to subscribe to this channel. So in my last video I talked about my truck EDC and that big husky toolbox that I have in the back seat at all times. That's got first aid kit, that's got a jumper pack, it's got ratchet straps, so on and so forth. If you haven't already seen that video, you're going to want to check it out. But in that video, I brought out the Maxpedition Beefy and I said, you know what, there's just too much stuff in here for me to cover in the same video, so I would make this one, which is what I'm doing now. So we're gonna go through this pack front to back, tell you everything that I have in here, and as always, everything that I mentioned in this video will be linked in the description below. So starting from the outside of the pack, I mentioned this in the previous video, but we'll talk about it here as well. I've got this carabinered knee pad. So this is a miniature knee pad, and I've found this extremely useful. When I was replacing a trailer leg, you had to bend down on the pavement. If you're changing a tire, anything where you're gonna make use of this toolkit if you wanna try to save your knees. This doesn't take up a whole lot of space. It's pretty inexpensive on Amazon, and I like to have it in here. On the front of the pack, I've got this sweet Velcro patch which says, "Mama says I'm special." She does say that I'm special. She's probably watching this video right now. But this is just a fun way to add some flair to your pack. And then within this spot up front, we've got two items. I've got a short USB-A to lightning cable. So if I need to charge my iPhone, I do have a small 5-watt charging brick in here as well. Now, one of the things I'll mention for those of you who have seen all of my videos, you know, I have the man purse, I've got chargers everywhere, so you're probably saying, Peter, this is like extremely duplicative. And you would be right in the sense that I built this pack long before I started carrying the man purse or the sling bag. But I just decided, you know what, it doesn't take up a lot of space. 2 is 1, 1 is none, so why not have it in here? And then another item, which again is probably somewhat duplicative because I have this in my Maxpedition Micro as well, but this is just a cleaning cloth. This one is quite a bit bigger than the one I have in the Micro, but whether you're cleaning your iPad, iPhone, sunglasses, what have you, always good to have stuff like this on hand. Getting into the pack itself, first thing right on top is our pair of mechanics gloves. So I have another pair of gloves in the Husky toolbox, but these I'm going to use more for fine-tooth work. These fit me a little bit better and they're much tighter on the hand. So in general, I'm going to grab for these before I grab those Milwaukee gloves out of there, but I'm probably going to use them for different purposes. If we go left to right in our pack, so the Beefy does have a hook here for your tapes. In my case, I just keep a single roll of the electrical tape on here. This, of course, is another one of those duplicative items because as you saw with my Vito ProPack OC140, I have a full-time soldering kit that's mobile. So if I'm going to a house or something where I'm planning on making use of a heat gun or a soldering iron, I'm probably going to have that with me, which means I won't get a ton of use out of this. But I did use this, for example, when I disconnected the battery in my truck when I stored it for the winter, just to tape off some of the cables and make sure everything stayed separate. So always good to have this on hand. It's cheap. Next, we've got this Streamlight Stylus Pro pen light. This, of all the lights that I carry, gets the least amount of use, right? And the reason for that is I've got that Milwaukee light in the Husky. I've got the tactical light in the man bag. I've got the O light in the Maxpedition Micro. And of course, I always have my iPhone flashlight. So again, I bought this before I bought any of those other items. What I like about this is that it's simple. There's just one mode. You click it on, you click it off, and it takes 2 AAAs. Next, we've got YouTube EDC's favorite item, and that is our Knipex Cobra channel locks. So these things feel fantastic in the hand. They've got this beautiful comfort grip on here. Of course, they are pricey, so you are going to have to pay if this is what you want. In general, I don't know that you need to pay up for this, but I'm happy that I have them. I've used them a handful of times, and I would say that something like this will probably live in my kit forever. Next, we've got a pair of our Uncle Bill's silver gripper. So again, just another set of tweezers. You know, when I stopped carrying the Maxpedition Micro originally, it lived in the house. So this wasn't duplicative at the time. Now that the Maxpedition Micro lives in the glove box, I technically always have 2 sets of tweezers on me. But again, these are small, they're probably easy to lose. I don't think that they're gonna break that easily. Again, they're made in the USA, they feel pretty substantial, but no reason that you can't have 2. And of course, if I need to lend somebody one, that's the other way in which they'll probably get lost. So Uncle Bill silver gripper, ideal for getting out small splinters. Next, we've got our, what is probably my least favorite tool in this pack because the way that it's built, it gets stuck on the elastic straps quite often, but this is a run-of-the-mill Gerber multi-tool. Picked this up at Home Depot. It was on sale, which of course I'm a sucker for sales. What I do like about it is that it's got the return function on the pliers, but of course, unless I really need something that leverages these needle noses, probably gonna reach for the Knipex, or I've got another set of needle nose vice grips later on in the pack. But this has, you know, a lot of what you might expect to need. Of course, it's got a knife, it's got a flathead, it's got a bottle opener, so on and so forth. In general, I could truthfully live without this based on all the other gear that I have in here, but at minimum, I like the fact that it has this knife, so should I need it, I'll use it. And then again, if you're doing fine tooth work and you like this form of like pliers with the suspension kit, might as well go for it. Next, we have one of my favorite items in the kit, and it's probably gonna surprise you. So this screwdriver I picked up at an estate sale. So it came in a blow molded case with like 50 bits for $5. The bits I have since transferred out of course, the blow molded case into these bit holders that I picked up on Amazon. So what I like about this, right, I mean, you know, Big Idea Design has like the bit kit, or the bit bar rather, and that's $120. But I can tell you right now that I've used these bits in conjunction with this screwdriver handle, which again, the whole thing cost me $5, a lot. And I've got a ton of use out of it. They've held up super well. I don't know what type of bits these are, but we're not seeing any rust. They've held up with all the tasks that I put them through. So this is, I would say, of everything in this kit, this gets the most use. Now I did buy these bit holders on Amazon. I got a pack of them. I want to say I got like 8 of them for $5. You saw these on my Vito Pro Pack TPXXL. I've got them on the side of the pack. I've got some in here, and I've got some extras that I'll use in the future if I'm building out another kit. Next, we've got our telescoping magnet. So this is, I mean, I love stuff like this, right? I find it infinitely valuable. I used it actually not too long ago. I was hooking up the battery in the Mule after I took it out of storage for the winter, dropped the battery screw, and luckily this thing was able to go down there and get it for me. So this is a unique piece to the truck. I only have one of these in the truck. I have a couple hanging around the workshop that are a little bit bigger. But stuff like this, you know, if you wanted to carry around all day, you could. But I love having it in the pack. It gets a ton of use. And for what it costs, I would happily buy it again. So rounding out the left-hand side of our pack, we've got a collection of cable management devices. So we've got some Velcro ties, which I use more than zip ties, frankly. I have hundreds and hundreds of these, and I use them for everything. So love having the Velcro ties in there. And then of course I've just got some zip ties. The funniest use case I ever had for a zip tie was we were out to eat one time as a family. We got a to-go box, but then as we were walking back to our car, the to-go box kept flipping open. So I said to my sister, give me the box. So I used the Gerber to cut basically a slit in part of the box. I took one of these zip ties and zip tied the whole box together, and I was like, the good news is it's not gonna open anymore. The bad news is when you're ready to eat that food, you're gonna need a knife to get it off. Of course, there's a much more practical use cases for them, but I think it speaks to having stuff like this always available to you so that you can solve problems, however trivial, whenever you want to. And that's it for the left side of the pack. Let's get into the right side. So first we have just a set of Allen keys. So this is a reused item. I do have like a Bear Archery bow and arrow, and when I bought that, they gave me this Archer's Allen wrench. I haven't used the bow and arrow in quite some time, so I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna throw this in here because it's probably more valuable to me in this pack than it is waiting for me to shoot the bow. But of course, I have tons of this stuff, right? You just saw me put a much bigger one that I got from Harbor Freight in the Carhartt tool roll. And of all the items in the pack, I would actually say that I've been carrying this for 2 years. This has probably gotten used the least. So happy to have it, but for the stuff that I'm doing most often, haven't needed it all that often. Next, this is our pair of needle nose vice grips that I mentioned earlier. I don't know what brand this is, but it says it's the original vice grip. So my assumption is that we're using the term vice grip in the way that we use Kleenex, which is to say vice grip is the brand, not the product. Nonetheless, these things are frankly adorable. So of course, you know, we can tighten it here, get this down pretty tight on whatever it is that we need, clamp something, hold something, pull something. You know, I use vice grips most often, not necessarily out of this kit, but just in general. If you are, you know, trying to replace a board in a deck, for example, and the screw just won't come out, maybe it's stripped or it's stuck, you slap a pair of vice grips on it, use those to turn, and you're home free. So You can never have too many pairs of these laying around. They're infinitely valuable. And these ones especially, they're so nice and compact that I wouldn't think not to have them in here. Next, we've got our little 5-watt charging brick. Of course, I mentioned earlier that goes with the lightning cable. We've got a run-of-the-mill uniball pen. Can never have too many pens on hand. What's funny is that in most EDC kits you see small notebooks with which to write stuff down. I do have one of those notebooks in the truck, but I don't have one in the kit. And in fact, it's not as if I've ever really sat there and said to myself, you know, I'm working out of this kit and I'd love to write something down. So I don't know that I'm missing it per se, but if I were going to add something, it would probably be that. Next, for the small items, pair of fingernail clippers. If I'm ever, you know, at a Bill's tailgate, for example, and my fiance finds me using these, she gets pretty upset. But, you know, from my perspective, you can never have a more up-to-date manicure. So if you find that you're lacking in one and you're mobile, might as well make use of it. Next, and this is something that gets used quite a bit, truthfully, and that is my little mini ratchet and socket set. So originally, these sockets came out of a kit, again, another blow molded case. I had that case and kit for years and years. I don't remember exactly where I got it, but then when I switched to this bag, of course, that case was far too big to fit. So I bought this beautiful socket rail on Amazon. You can actually remove these, although one thing I will tell you, if you end up buying something like this, you're supposed to be able to remove this pretty easily, but getting this end piece off, I actually broke one in the process, so tread carefully. I'm not exactly sure why that happens. But ultimately, I'm able to fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sockets on here. This one, I added a piece of Velcro tape. And this is holding the connection to the ratchet as well as an additional socket. So if we plop that in there, we're good to go. Again, this gets a ton of use for me. The sizes, I mix between standard and metric here, and truthfully, there's no real rhyme or reason, but I've got 8, 12, 13, and 14, and then for standard, I've got 3/8, 7/16, and a couple big boys, looks like 9/16 and 1/2 inch. So, you know, most of the common sizes that you're likely to run into when you're mobile, this will get the job done. I know that what I have on here will fit all of the different battery connectors that I have on the lawnmower and the truck and the mule, because I've used this to disconnect those batteries. So love having this in here. Obviously, it's more of a specialty tool than a general EDC kit, but I found it to be infinitely useful, and I love this mini ratchet. And in fact, I bought the Wera Tool Check Plus, which is that beautiful little kit that you've seen a lot of YouTubers talk about. It's got the very, very small ratchet, and it's got a screwdriver and a bunch of bits and sockets. But I ended up returning it, not because it was bad, but because I have all this stuff. And what I paid for this, again, the screwdriver with all the bits, $5, and then the socket, I mean, it was so long ago, but say $10 versus $100 for that Tool Check Plus. Just didn't really make sense. So the Tool Check Plus may end up in another kit someday, but for now, very happy with this. So this is basically what the pack looks like when it's empty here, but we do have this one final pocket to talk through. So first, we have a little medicine kit. This is from Westwood. I don't know, I bought this on Amazon. Typically, you would find, you know, older women carrying these in their purses, but I just carry, these are all Tylenol. This is all allergy medicine. I have pretty bad allergies, and of course, if somebody has a headache, I want to be the first one to offer them some Tylenol, so I always keep this in there, keep you breathing right and feeling good. Next, deck of playing cards. It's funny, I keep playing cards and everything, right? I've got them on the boat toolbox, I've got them in this toolbox. These ones haven't been opened yet because in general, we always have other cards to play with, but I never want to let an opportunity go by where we're sitting there, we're bored, and we're saying, you know, I would love to play a game of rummy. I got us covered. Next, we've got our boo-boo kit. So this is just hand cleansing wipe and some Band-Aids. Again, I built this kit long before I bought that beautiful first aid kit from Costco for $20. So at this point, what's in here isn't all that interesting or valuable. I could probably get rid of it, but I'll leave it in here. It doesn't really take up any space. And if this toolkit ever gets separated from that Costco first aid kit, you may as well have this stuff on hand. And then the last two items that we have in here are these Storacells. These things are awesome. So I got these on Amazon. I've got both AAA and AA. The two AAAs that are missing are currently in that flashlight that I showed you earlier. So these keep the batteries separated. Theoretically, if one of these were to malfunction or explode, it would keep it so that the rest of the batteries in the kit do not suffer the same fate. But I just like them because they fit in there nice and tight. You get a very short connection, and then you always have batteries on hand. And as I use them, I tend to replace them. I find that I have a somewhat interesting storage solution for batteries in the house, which maybe I'll do a YouTube short on at some point in the future. But these are fantastic. Had them for a very long time. They're a little pricey, okay? But if you're looking to carry some batteries with you and you don't want to jeopardize one battery for another in the event that one of them malfunctions, I think this is a great way to do so. So this is what the Maxpedition Beefy looks like when it's fully empty. I looked on Amazon this morning. I bought this in December of 2021, so I've had it for over 2 years now. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think it's held up extremely well. The zipper is still working as it did the day that I bought it. You've got the Velcro up front here, which is still very positive. And then of course, all of your connection points in here, they haven't stretched out or lost their elasticity, which is great. So it's certainly big. You may not want or need something as big, but if you do, I think it's a great option. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.